For a long time, when we thought about big health crises, it was always bacteria, viruses. That's where the focus was.
Mostly.
But now, well, there's something else demanding our attention, a different kind of organism, and honestly, it's a bit unsettling.
Okay.
Exactly. We're doing a deep dive today into fungal pathogens, specifically this genus called Aspergillus. And look, this isn't some theoretical, maybe someday threat.
No, not at all. Recent headlines, new scientific work, it's bringing it right to the forefront, a critical, growing health concern for everyone, really.
And you mentioned headlines, the why now. Seems really tied to what we're seeing happen, right? And that connection to climate change as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What might have been a background worry a decade ago, it's very real now. Tangible consequences. We're seeing environmental shifts hitting human health hard.
And to make that really concrete, think about what happened in Chile just this year.
Ah, yes, the hospital situation.
2 major hospitals, Hospital El Pino, another in San Bernardo, they had to shut down multiple wards, because of Aspergillus infections, aspergillosis.
Patients affected, entire sections of hospitals unusable by a fungus. It's quite stark.
It really drives home the immediate impact, doesn't it? And why we need to understand this prevention, all of it, so critical.
It's a powerful, and disturbing example. These weren't small things. Major responses needed from health authorities. They showed how fragile even, advanced healthcare systems can be against these emerging threats.
Okay, so in this deep dive, we really need to unpack this. We'll look at how far Aspergillus is spreading now.
It's expanding reach.
The role climate change is clearly playing, this really surprising way the spores travel.
Distance travel, yeah.
Yeah, unexpected. And then the bigger picture, implications for health, sure, but also our food supply.
Right. Let's start with the basics then. What is Aspergillus and why is its expanding territory such a worry?
Well, Aspergillus isn't just one thing, right? It's a genus, like a big family name for lots of related fungi species.
Exactly, a large family. And several species in that family can cause really serious infections in humans, mostly respiratory system issues, but sometimes brain infections in severe cases.
And the scary part now is that it's not staying put. The geographical areas we used to associate with it, those lines are blurring.
That's the key concern. It's not just a problem for, say, tropical or typically warm places anymore. Those boundaries are breaking down.
Yeah, what really jumped out from the info we reviewed were these predictions. Aspergillus spreading to places like Northern Europe, Asia, the U.S. even.
Places where it hasn't historically been a major health worry. That's a dramatic shift.
It really is. And the driver seems clear. Climate change.
It appears to be the primary driver, yes. There's compelling evidence. Research led by Dr. Norman Van Ryn at the University of Manchester, supported by the Wellcome Trust, really digs into this connection.
Right. That study was fascinating. It looks specifically at how rising global temperatures might affect where key Aspergillus species can live. Aspergillus fumigatus, flavus, niger, those were the main ones.
Those 3, yes.
Yeah.
And the findings. Well, even if we hit that relatively optimistic target of limiting global warming to 2 degrees Celsius.
Which is looking tough.
Which is looking very tough. Even then, we're still likely to see a significant expansion, especially into temperate regions. Think Scandinavia, the UK, places that currently have fewer issues.
Wow. So even a quote-unquote best-case climate scenario means more reach for these potentially dangerous fungi. That's sobering.
It is. And the projections, if temperatures rise more, say 2.6 to 3.1 degrees, much more alarming.
How so?
Under those conditions, the study suggested Aspergillus niger, just that one species could potentially expose an extra 10 million people in Europe to infection.
10 million. Just in Europe, from one type. That really puts this scale into perspective.
It does. And it's not only about the heat itself, is it? Our sources mentioned other factors too.
Right, like humidity, extreme weather.
Precisely. Changes in humidity levels, more frequent extreme weather events. These things can create more welcoming environments for fungi.
Yeah.
Helping them flourish and spread.
The UK was mentioned specifically. How might rising temperatures affect things there?
The worry is that warmer UK temperatures could let Aspergillus establish itself in new areas, places it wasn't common before.
And the consequences?
Pretty dire, especially for people with existing respiratory problems. And you have to remember, we already face challenges with effective antifungal treatments. They're limited.
Okay, so climate change is definitely pushing Aspergillus into new territories, but the way it's getting around, that's also kind of mind-blowing, isn't it? It's not just slow, creeping spread.
No, definitely not. Which brings us to that other piece of research, Jerome Kasparian's team at the University of Geneva.
Ah, the stratosphere discovery.
Exactly. Their findings showed this totally unexpected transport method. Fungal spores surviving way up high in the stratosphere, about 10 kilometers up.
10 kilometers? How did they even find that out? Sample the air up there.
They developed a special device, yeah. A novel one, designed just for collecting air samples at those altitudes.
Yeah.
And what they found were viable fungal spores.
Viable meaning still alive, capable of causing problems.
Still alive, still capable of growing and causing infection, even after being exposed to those extreme conditions. UV radiation, cold.
Incredible. And were they specific types? Anything dangerous?
Yes, among others, they identified Naganischia albida, maybe not a household name like Aspergillus, but it can cause serious infections, especially in people with weakened immune systems.
And the researchers actually grew them back in the lab.
They did. They revived them, cultured them, proving their resilience. So the big takeaway here is fungal spread isn't just local or regional anymore.
They're catching rides on high-altitude winds.
Literally. Airborne highways across continents. We can't think of fungal threats as being contained by geography in the old ways.
So these microscopic things are essentially hitchhiking miles above us, crossing oceans and mountains. That completely reframes how we need to think about global spread.
It really does. Potential for truly global dispersal. And, to bring it back down to earth, Aspergillus itself, it's a common mold. You find it in houses.
Right, like on old food or damp spots.
Exactly. So that bit of mold you might find, its relatives could have literally journeyed through the stratosphere from somewhere else entirely.
Okay, that is mind-blowing. Something from my own home potentially having traveled thousands of miles way up there. So obviously a huge threat to human health. But the info also pointed to broader impacts. Agriculture, food security.
It does. It's a dual challenge. Direct human health risks, yes, but also threats to, well, the systems that feed us. Agriculture.
How so?
As these fungi spread into new areas, they can endanger vital crops. Livestock, too.
And Aspergillus flavus came up specifically in that context, right? Why is that one such a worry for food?
Flavus is known to grow well on lots of important crops. Corn, peanuts, grains. And the prediction is its range will push northwards as things warm up.
Northward meaning where?
Potentially putting regions like Russia, Scandinavia, even Alaska at higher risk of their food supplies being contaminated by the toxins this fungus can produce.
So it's not just about more people getting lung infections. It's potentially about the safety of food in places previously considered, well, safer from this specific threat.
Correct. And there's another layer to this problem, too. Antifungal resistance.
Ah, yes. Like antibiotic resistance, but for fungi.
Exactly the same principle. And a major driver is the widespread use of antifungal chemicals in agriculture to protect crops.
Which makes the fungi that survive tougher.
It selects for resistant strains, which means the limited drugs we do have to treat human fungal infections could become less and less effective over time.
Okay, this feels like a perfect storm brewing. Fungi spreading further thanks to climate change, using surprising ways to travel globally.
Right, the stratosphere route.
Threatening our food supplies.
Yes.
And our ability to treat the infections is getting weaker because of resistance.
That sums it up pretty well. And on top of all that, the material we looked at highlights another big hurdle. Diagnosis.
They're hard to diagnose.
Fungal infections often are, yeah. They can mimic other illnesses. And historically, let's be honest, they just haven't gotten the same level of research funding or attention as bacteria and viruses.
And the consequence of difficult diagnosis is delayed treatment, misdiagnosis.
It can be, unfortunately, which obviously isn't good for patient outcomes.
So if these infections become more common, potentially harder to diagnose quickly and harder to treat effectively, it leads to a pretty worrying question. Is our healthcare system actually ready?
That's the crucial question the information raises. There's a very real concern that healthcare systems globally might not be adequately prepared for a significant rise in fungal infections, especially with these pathogens evolving and spreading in these new unexpected ways.
Right. So let's try and pull the main threads together. We're seeing this escalating threat from fungi, Aspergillus being a key example. Climate change is a major accelerator here.
Definitely a key driver.
These tiny spores can travel incredible distances, even through the stratosphere, enabling potential global spread.
A paradigm shift in understanding dispersal.
And this creates significant risks, not just directly to human health, but also hitting our agriculture, our food security, all while we're facing growing antifungal resistance and Maybe a lack of preparedness in our health systems?
That captures the core issues, yes.
Now, for those of you listening, especially if you're preparing for UPSC exams, this deep dive really hits several critical areas, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It connects current events, general studies, topics like health, environment, agriculture. It's definitely got relevance for both mains and prelims, understanding these complex, interconnected issues.
Yeah, understanding these emerging threats, how they link together health, climate change, global systems. It's vital for anyone trying to grasp contemporary challenges,
Right.
especially for aspirants needing to analyze that interplay. It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Right.
What are the implications here for public health policy? How do farming practices need to change? And what about international cooperation? These fungi don't respect borders.
Crucial questions. Monitoring, response. It has to be collaborative.
We really encourage you to mull these over. If you found this deep dive useful, maybe helpful for your prep, please do give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and definitely leave a comment. Any further questions, your thoughts on this issue, we want to hear them.
Yes, please do.
And we should mention, much of the information we've discussed today draws from analysis by Indian Defense View, which provides some important perspectives on these kinds of emerging threats.
So, perhaps the final thought to leave everyone with is this. Considering how adaptable fungi are and how rapidly our climate is changing, are we truly ready for whatever microbial challenges might be coming next?
A sobering question indeed, something to really think